welcome our speaker today, which is Paula Tobon. Paula is the executive director of St. Vincent's House. She is passionate about the mission and vision of St. Vincent House to be a beacon of hope and healing for all God's people. Paula has exhibited her talents in finding ways for St. Vincent House to be impactful and best serve its clients, and has been central to developing strong community and interagency collaborations. She serves as president-elect for Galveston Co-Care, is an executive member of REACH, a member of the National Forum for Latino Healthcare Executives, and a diplomat for the American College of Health Executives. That's a lot, but apparently she has some free time, and she enjoys spending her free time with her fiancé Jim, her family, and her dog, who not surprisingly is named Vincent. Today, Paula will be speaking on embracing possibility at St. Vincent's. Welcome.
Good morning, friends. I have several things to be grateful for. One is that the speaker before me wasn't super tall, so that you guys could hear me. But wow, thank you for the warm welcome. Like I said, truly I feel like I am leaving as a friend. Your affirmation is absolutely beautiful, and I think I'm going to take it back to work on Monday to dwell together in peace and to seek truth and love and help one another. That's very powerful, and I feel like that's the work that we try to do every day at St. Vincent's House. Although it's not always so peaceful, there's a lot that's happening. For those of you that don't know much about St. Vincent's House, let me just give you a quick overview. St. Vincent's House has been serving this community for over 70 years. It is a mission outreach of the Episcopal Church, and it was designed to serve the most vulnerable, and what that definition of vulnerability has really changed over the last few years, especially since 2020 and COVID. Just to give you a little bit, there's people that are numbers people, there's people that are affected by stories, so I like to just tell a little bit of both. But at St. Vincent's House in 2021, we had over 46,000 duplicated individuals come through our doors. That's through our social service side and clinics. That's a lot. Right now, 76% of the population that we serve live here in Galveston Island, but the word has gotten out and the need has gotten out. So we have people crossing that bridge. I just moved to Galveston in June, so I know what crossing that bridge means. And you Galvestonians know it well, because I know now you won't go from the east end to the west end without lots of thought happening. So there's a lot. Part of what makes the work so special at St. Vincent's House is, and that's what was exciting for me, as you read a little bit, or y'all presented about my background. I'm a hospital administrator. I've run hospitals for most of my career. And when I was approached about the opportunity at St. Vincent's House, what got me really excited about it is nowhere in my career had I seen these pieces of a puzzle that had the opportunity to be put together and really be impactful. At St. Vincent's House, we now have what's called an integrated care model. We're able to offer holistic wraparound services to help an individual. We have the mental health piece, we have the social service piece, and then we also have the clinics. And so we've been able to put that together as an integrated care model. And I will tell you a story that really solidified how it is, or what the work is that we do. So our world changed, like many of your worlds, in March of 2020. I had just started at St. Vincent's House in February of 2020, and we had a sweet gentleman that I'll never forget. He came in, and he had lost 4 days of work because of the flu, and he had worked in the restaurant industry, and because of that, it started that domino effect with him. He lost 4 days of income, so that means he was going to have issue with his rent and his car payment and so and so and so and so. So we gave him, $200, sent him on his way, good luck, and, we're here, if you need us next year. Well, then COVID happened, and March the 15th, I'll never forget, is, if you'll remember what's on the news media, they were doing reports of food being hard to find in the grocery store. People were in a little bit of panic. Well, that's what happened with our families. During that point, we used to have a pantry on the second floor, and our families could come once a month, and we would give them some cans of food, and then, wish them well and say, we'll see you next month. Well, when that COVID happened, we had the rush of families coming in to get food. We realized we needed to change what happened at St. Vincent's house because we had to do more. We simply had to do more. So we relocated our pantry to most of our downstairs, half of our downstairs space, and we started adding in things that you and I would need, especially during COVID. You need soap, you need toothpaste, you need socks, you need cleaning supplies. During that time, the churches came in and were making masks for us. We were able to give out hand sanitizers. We started to expand the type of foods that we gave so that they could truly feed families. And very quickly, our whole program approach started to change, because I always believe that if the client and the patient is the core of your services, kind of like you do what you do in love, then everything else comes. Well, I am, English is my second language, so I'm really bad at jokes because I don't get like all the, the Rolling Stone and the rock and the moss. It's just really confusing for me. But, and I'm horrible. My poor kids, I have my own version of lullabies, like when they were little, because, I didn't hear English lullabies, so my poor kids would try to correct other children. I was like, no, that's mommy's special version. But anyway, Spanish is my first language, and as we started to get the cars coming through, it was just droves of families that were coming through and people walking up to get food. And I'll never forget, I was working the pantry because my thought is, if people need food, which is the most basic, if you look at the Maslow's needs, it's food and shelter. And if you don't have any of those two, then where does everything else fall into? So I looked up, and there was a sweet, sweet, sweet mother that walked up holding the hand of her 10-year-old son. They were wearing masks. They were dripped in sweat, just absolutely, because it was a hot July day. Like, imagine being outside walking in this weather now. That's why I was like, praise the Lord for AC. Yeah. And so I walked over to Dolores, and my undergraduate is in psychology. So I believe in the one question. So I asked her, ¿Estás bien? Which in Spanish means, are you okay? And then I sat down, even though we weren't supposed to. I held her hand because I could just tell she needed that human contact. And she completely broke down. So I got my staff, who's amazing. We have coloring books and stuff for the kiddos. So they took her son and they went to color. And I sat down with her. We have some tables out in the alley, some chairs. And she started to tell me her story, that she worked in the hospitality industry. She was not documented, and she had lost her job. And it was her first time in her life that she had ever sought out help. She was to the point that they had no food in their home. She had her 10-year-old son, and she had a 17-year-old son, and she was about to get evicted. They were about to be homeless. She did not have a car. The car that she had was broken down in her house, and she couldn't afford to get it fixed. And to the point that she thought she would be better off not living on this earth. So I thought, okay, this is pretty serious. This is a 911 in terms of crisis that's happening. There's a lot of desperation. So we are so blessed. We have a relationship with Family Service Center. So we have mental health counselors at St. Vincent's House. And we have a bilingual counselor. His name is Tony. Tony is probably 78, but he's amazing. He has a God-given gift. So I immediately called Tony, and he comes bounding down the back steps like Superman. And, he immediately takes Dolores into her office, and they start talking. And then as we start discovering more, I have this saying is that you can't be well if you don't have food or shelter. Imagine all the the stress and things that we've gone through, but to not have food or shelter. If you think about that for just a moment, that's one of those questions that you ask, wow, that's tremendous. I also believe you can't be well if your anxiety or depression is so high that you can't function. Again, imagine the steps of Dolores. She is, we have a lot of stress, but she is fearful of asking for help because of her immigration status. So it took a long time. It took almost desperation for her to be able to come out. And plus, in her culture, it's very hard to ask for help. So that's another issue that we have. You can't be well if your blood sugar or your blood pressure is so high that you can't function. Well, as we got to know Dolores better, because of her anxiety and everything, her blood pressure was through the roof. She had uncontrolled diabetes, so we immediately got her into our clinics. So really, she became the first that we started this integrated care model where we wrap around the services. So we, at that day, I swore that we would never have another mother walk 10 blocks with her child to get food. So we immediately started a homebound delivery program. So now we deliver food weekly to about 110 families. About 50% of them are of the families that we deliver to are seniors that are homebound and can't get out. And then it's families that just have situations that they don't have a car, they don't have a way to get food. And so that's what we started. And then we started this whole program now where we're able to look at our clients/patients that come in and really look at these integrated services and how we can affect lives. As we said in the introduction, we're a beacon of hope and healing for all of God's people. I know the theme here is possibility, and I can't be a speaker without giving you definitions, right? So I looked at, and I know you've been studying what possibility is, and the noun verb of it, or the noun definition, is the power of existing, the power of happening, the state of being possible. And then I looked at hope. Hope is what we always talk about. As a matter of fact, I was just talking about, if you ever see our graffiti bus, it's the Hope Bus. That's what we call it. And the noun for hope is a feeling of expectation or a desire for certain things to happen. So there's very close parallels between possibility and hope. I would almost argue that there, you just put the equals, that possibility equals hope. And then we take hope and we turn it into a verb. And that's where we get the why not, where we turn the why not into a possibility. Because hope means that you want something to happen or for it to be the cause. If we look at hope, hope is in the scripture. Hope in the scripture means a strong and confident expectation. It's mentioned 167 times in the Bible and 159 verses. Hope is something that gives us protection, it gives us strength, it gives us boldness. If we read Romans 15:13, may the God of hope fill you with joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Hope is never static. It's a passive thing. It's dynamic, active, directive, intentional, and life-sustaining, like possibility. That's really powerful. And what is healing? I thought that was really interesting because I feel like that's a lot of what we do at St. Vincent's House. It's being that place truly of hope, because we have so many people that come in without that feeling of possibility or that hopelessness. And then how do we help heal? I think as I was preparing for this was really educational for me because, again, I love to look things up. I was the kid that had the encyclopedia when you were a kid. Yes, I know. I did go outside and play as well. But healing is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. It's really the gift of healing. And if we look at the objective of healing, it's to be therapeutic. And I think that one thing that is really important as we understand healing doesn't mean that when you're suffering or you're grieving that it will ever go away completely. It will never just go away. It'll be alleviated, it'll be relieved, eased, helped, softened, or lessens. Hope as a verb creates healing. and how do we heal? And I'm going to go back full circle to how this relates to St. Vincent's House. I truly believe that perspective is healing. I remember I was brought in as a consultant by the Episcopal Diocese of Texas to St. Vincent's House. And I will tell you, during that time, there were a lot of things that happened in my personal life, and I was at a very broken point. And or I thought I would come in and I had a bad day. And in the mornings we would have chapel, and the chapel was attended by many of our clients that were experiencing homelessness. And you go in there, and I'll never forget Ricky, who is the sweetest, most kindest person, had tears of joy for the Lord and for his life. And Ricky had cancer. Ricky was out on the streets. Ricky didn't know where he was going to get his food. And if we did anything for Ricky, Ricky would put his hand on my head and say a prayer for me. Talk about humbling. I mean, you talk about perspective, and that's why I am so passionate about the work of St. Vincent's House, because every day I see the hope and healing that happens there. But not only that, the perspective of healing through service, it's really about giving your time to others, to help others. Yes, it is a very good thing for you to do because it makes you feel better, but also being in healthcare, I believe a lot in research. There's actually a study that was done by the University of Pittsburgh, and it's talking about how a person that volunteers a lot and a person that doesn't, and they compared their brains to the volunteer and the non-volunteer, and the brain scans of the volunteers showed a noticeable difference. And it was really fascinating to see the difference based on their choice. They found that the person that volunteered, it positively affected their physical response to stress through blood pressure, depression, and inflammation. Because again, when you volunteer or you do for others, it gives you that perspective, and that perspective really is the one that lets you catch a breath. Yes, we're in a pandemic, and yes, it's been tough, but thankfully, I can do this. People that volunteer tend to be sick less often and live much longer. It improves a person's self-esteem and fosters a rosier view of the world. I've always been called a Pollyanna, so this is always, if I had sunglasses right now, they would be pink. That's just how I like to see the world. But helping others takes your mind and emotions off yourself, allowing your mind to move past anxieties. So the more I get, we have a volunteer in our pantry. She's amazing. Her name is Jillian. And she comes every Monday, and she's getting ready to move, which is going to be a shame because we're going to miss her. But she's making plans to come once a month because she said, I get much more volunteering here than I will ever give. A great quote: no matter how small an act of kindness or simple positivity you put out into the world, you will make a difference. Wonder Woman, 1987. So it's how we have hope and provide healing. It's the small things. Never worry about the numbers. Help one person at a time, and always start with the person nearest to you. Mother Teresa. You just never know what that person next to you is going through. You never know what battles they may be fighting. So it's those small things that you can do to help that person or help others. How can you help us at St. Vincent's House? I will tell you, like I said, in 2021, we thought we had the biggest numbers. In preparing for our board meeting last month, I did some analytics. This year, we are 58% busier than we were last year. It is amazing, because what COVID has done is, I told you about our sweet man that lost 4 days of work in the restaurant industry, right? And what COVID did is increase that fishnet of what the definition of vulnerability is. We had the people that had 2 weeks of a safety net. Then that went away. Then 3 months. And then 6 months. And then a year. And so the numbers are just huge. And I will tell you, about 80% 87% of the people that we help are people that have never asked for help. They're all working. Some of the people that you see that are living in the streets, some have 1 to 2 jobs. There's a lot of struggle, but we always try to get them housing. There's just not a lot of choices here in Galveston, so we try to find where there are resources for them, and that's in Houston, but they feel safer in Galveston than they do going to the big city. We have families that live in their cars. We have a close relationship with the school district, so we always find out. Right now we have probably 17 families that live in their cars, and we have a definition of what we call sheltered and unsheltered. So there's a lot of individuals that sleep on people's porches or on their sofas or outside. But I think that part of what's made our work so complex as we talk about the integrated care model is we work very closely with our clinic patients. We now have clinics that are really for very sick individuals. So we have a clinic that when someone's discharged from the hospital, and we all know that we get discharged, we come home sicker, right? And we're dependent on our families or those that love us to help take care of us. Well, and we come home to a home and food and prescriptions, and many of the clients that we serve don't have that. So we work on the social determinant side, so we have a very aggressive homelessness prevention program. We have food. We have our bus. So far this year, we've given over 3,000 rides on the bus. Anybody that needs to go pick up, and we also help people with prescriptions, get clothes for work, pay their deposits, because the one thing that we want people is to be able to stay housed. The need has been so great. I will say that when I got to St. Vincent's House, our budget for helping people in emergency assistance was about $10,000 a month. Right now, this last month, we are doing about $75,000 a month. There is a lot of need. There is a lot of because of our clinic relationship that we have a 38-year-old that has congestive heart failure and only has 5% of his heart. I will not let him die on the streets. He's in a hotel for a month till we can find him housing. Michael. And he's got the most beautiful blue eyes. He was a welder before he got sick, and that caused everything to happen, and he lost everything as a result. He's getting back on his feet. We have 52-year-olds that have had complete strokes and again have lost everything. But we also have amazing stories. We have, he just came to talk to me yesterday. His name is Ted. Before everything happened, he was riding high. He was a VP at Comcast. He did IT for them. He did all their technical stuff, traveled the world. Then he started to get severe cataracts, to the point that he lost his vision. Couple that with his identity was stolen and somebody racked up a lot of debt. He ended up living on the streets because he was blind, didn't have family to support him, but thankfully for UTMB, they were able to give him a life-changing operation. He can now see. He is he's now working at for the lifeguards, and he is a 911. He handles calls. He's about to get his other eye operated on, and he's the biggest speaker. Like, he's somebody that right now we've got in temporary housing. We're looking to get him housed. He needs some help because he's rebuilding up, and it's going to take 30 to 90 days. But those are the clients, those are the families that we serve. How can you help us? Well, first of all, please keep us in your hearts and in your prayers. The work we do is hard, but we celebrate the victories. It is, I'm super silly and my staff is amazing. We're the Hope Hustlers. I had them give a name to the team, and, when we're able to house somebody, or our clients, get jobs and they bring us back a check for $5, we do the celebration dance. So please keep us and our staff and our sweet, sweet clients in your thoughts and prayers. Share the work of what happens at St. Vincent's House. Please tell others if they're looking for an opportunity to volunteer or donate. St. Vincent's House is here. We need, or if you want to do like a one-time thing, we would love a hygiene supply or cleaning supply drive. Full size is what we need, because we just bought a big bunch of it, but it goes flying off our shelf. Laundry, detergent, shampoo. Like I said, anything that you might need in your home is what we need. Weekly, our pantry is very busy. We have about 10,000 people come through our pantry monthly, so we would need, if you have time to come weekly, we need help stocking our shelves. We have a great partnership with the Galveston County Food Bank, so they deliver food to us as well as different churches and organizations bring things to us. I talked about our homebound delivery program. We usually go in pairs. We need somebody to drive and then somebody to take the food boxes all through Galveston. That is a great opportunity if you have grandchildren, because those boxes are heavy. I'm not saying for you guys to go up there because they are heavy and it is a lot of work. But if you have grandchildren or children that you think need some perspective through service, it is a great opportunity for them to see how there are people struggling out there. That's very eye-opening. And right now we're limited to how much more we can increase the program due to volunteers and staffing. So right now we're pretty capped at 110, but I know the need is greater, especially during the summers and holidays is when we need the most volunteers. We rely heavily on our UTMB volunteers, and so when they leave the island, that really hurts us, because just because they're gone doesn't mean that it's not 110 families that need help with food and all other services. Another area that we would need some help with is if you're retired or looking for something to do, we need help at our front desk. It is run and manned by our volunteers, and every time they come in, there's not a staff person that tells them, "Thank you so much for coming," because they help us answer the phones, direct calls. As a matter of fact, we've got a big training for them on Monday. We also need help with data entry or special projects, or even if you can't help us on a consistent schedule, to be on the backup schedule in case one of our volunteers is not able to come in. If you're able to support us monthly, we do have a big food truck that comes in the third Wednesday and Thursday of each month, and that's where we get vegetables and produce, as well as we have a big community garden that is run by our UTMB dietary department. So those are the different things. In terms of special events at Thanksgiving, last year we were able to distribute 250 food baskets. I feel like the need is going to be greater this year than it was last year, so it's doing the homebound for the Thanksgiving baskets, or if you want to help us by getting gift cards so that we can purchase the turkeys. What we also do is, because we have some couples that there's just two of them and they don't need a big turkey, so we get some rotisserie chickens, and then all the other goodies and fixings that go with Thanksgiving. The other area that you can help with, and this is what I'm starting to talk to the Galveston Ministerial Alliance, is we're looking for church groups to adopt families. For example, Michael, who I was talking about, or right now we have a young mom and her baby that are just out of domestic abuse, to go in and check on them, to bring food to them, to maybe take them to the doctor's appointment. Something like that is a community coming to adopt a family that is in need. They're just coming out of a crisis and they just need that hand to walk them over that bridge. We also, at St. Vincent's house, God forbid, is this wood? Where's wood? Got to make sure I find some. If we have a storm, if we have a hurricane, St. Vincent's house is the biggest disaster recovery area. So 72 hours after a storm, we'll have two 18-wheelers pull up at St. Vincent's house, one in the front and one in the back. They're loaded with food, cleaning supplies, and water. And so we're going to need volunteers to help us with that distribution. There's no guarantee that the National Guard could be here. And so we just want to make sure that we are ready to respond and help Galveston get back to back on its feet. And then lastly, I think as I was preparing for this, this great song came on. The Lord did not bless me with a singing voice. I know there's that expression of make a joyful noise to the Lord, but trust me, I'm going to spare all of you that. There's a song by Matthew West that's called Do Something. And to me, it really spoke of what it is of possibility and the why not. And a lot of times we question this, but it starts with, I woke up this morning, I saw a world full of trouble now and thought, how did we ever get so far down? And how's it ever going to turn around? So I turned my eyes to heaven and I thought, God, why don't you do something? Well, I just can't bear the thought of people living in poverty, children sold into slavery. The thought disgusted me. So I shook my fist at heaven and said, God, why don't you do something? And he said, I did, yeah. I created you. Yeah. If not us, then who? If not me, then you. Right now, it's time for us to do something. If not now, then when? When we will all see it. It's time for us to do something. So with that, thank you so much. Any questions or anything that I can answer for you? Yes.
What's the best way to volunteer? Go on your website?
Yes, absolutely. If you go to our website or if you email B. Miller at STV Hope, and I have some business cards I can give you, or just give me a call and we'll arrange for you to come out and visit. It is amazing. I am blown away every day by the work that happens out there, and there's not a single volunteer in any area. As a matter of fact, we're going to start having our volunteers and staff do some testimonials. I feel that that's a little bit more dignified than asking our clients, although some really do want to tell their story. Definitely reach out to me or to Bethany, and we'll get you linked in. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Thank you. And we're 100% philanthropic. The work that we do is all through is fundraising. So thank you.